Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 7. Now we're going to do presentations about text and discourses in the technologies of social organizations. Let me introduce our members of groups. Me, Peggy Melati Sukma, as a moderator, also the last speaker. And the first speaker is Ananda Dwi Putri Chesari, and the second speaker is Dewi Citra. So, text is usually a written form of communication information, which is a non-interactive nature. In contrast, discourse can be from spoken, written, visual, and audio form, communicating information that is interactive in nature. Uh, of the fundamental claims of critical discourse analysis is that facts play a constitutive role in structurations. Recent research on complex systems shows that typically they are organized on and across multiple time scales. Text as instances of such material semiotic artifacts play a key role in the organizations of social systems across timescales and in the widest extensions of social network. So let's start to our first speaker to explain about role of text. Please, Ananda Dwi Putri, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Peggy. And I'm Ananda Duputri, and I would like to explain about role of text. So let's talk about it. Example of role of text according to Barriam 1997, it begins from a commonplace common result. Role of text is dynamical system in which large numbers of elements interact to produce determinate but enforceable new phenomena, such as organism, ecosystem, and cities, are characterized by a hierarchical organization across multiple levels. Okay, next. In many such systems, there is a cyclical separation of processes which take place at very different rates. They don't efficiently exchange energy and so informational signals with one another. But in systems where there is semiosis, that is meaning and making through the mediation of sign or symbol, different organizational level constituted by processes operating at vastly different time scales can become linked by the circulation of material artifacts that are written and read, according to the convention of some meaning and making community. Okay, next. The second material is modes of textually and modes of social control. Imagine three ways in which text and other semiotic materials artifacts have come to mediate social control, beginning with the primary integrating function of their specific informational control content, as in the architectural plans for a medieval cathedral or the Great Wall of China, or the transmission of secret texts and legal texts that help to ensure the stable repetition of rituals and formulas as guides to action over time scores of centuries. But as the scores of human societies grew from unique villages and cities, each of which had unique institutions and texts to schools, and which there was a replication of standardized institution. There are many examples to help illustrate what this the new mode of traversal is like in comparison to the older modes of unique text and standardized genres. First is hypertext. The second is web surfing. The third is channel surfing. And the last one is mall cruising. Okay, I think that's it from me and take it back to moderator.
Okay, thank you, Ananda. Now we are going to the next speaker. Dewi Citra, please, time is yours.
Okay, I will continue the materials. The third material is text time scales, and text scales. Not only social organization in the large, but also social control at the scale of individuals and their activities is mediated in part by semiotic material text and artifacts which circulate in communities and link large-scale, long-term processes, institutions, mentions with smaller scales, shorter term actions and activities. For the modernist institutions, it is both text and text types which are relevant. We can ask about the social, organizational, and local control functions of text of different length and about the timescales or of persistence and use of both text and text types, as well as their spatial and social extensions geographically and social categories and numbers of people and individual institutions. And the fourth material is text scales and social scales. Apart from the pure remaining scarce text, popular media text would seem the most widespread by far, like television programs, popular films, popular music, and music videos or computer game world. Next. Okay, perhaps small groups collectively producing a single text or drawing, up to perhaps a dozen people working around the same large frame or passing copies of the same text around. Beyond these people might work with multiple copies of the same text, but there is a definite point in the scale of complexity of interactions and practices needed to mount a project requiring many people, such that to coordinate all these people, interactions and practices, texts of more than one genre are needed. The large film project like Cleopatra or Titanic mobilize and coordinate large numbers of people over timescales of the order of years. I think that's all from me. Back to the moderator.
Okay, Dewi Chitra, thank you for your explain. Well, thank you for the time. I will explain the last materials here about traversals and social control. So, to integration through a text type, genre, style of or discourse type, to integration through strategy of connecting texts of very different types. Social control here corresponds not only to the control of content, which is the same as in prior models of textual mediations, and to the well-formatness criteria of genre elements, but also to the kinds of reasoning and actions, including the literacies needed to write valued hypertext, which new members of the community must obtain as a part of the cultural capital. So, from the perspective of the cultural capital, which is effective and valued in society, and so the social control which result from inculcations of habitus in individuals. We can say that we have a three regime here. In regime one, the dominant habitus is one whose cultural capital is tied to the exegesis of a particular text. And in regime 2, the dominant habitus supports cultural capital that is tied to proficiency with the creations of text of particular discourse formations or types. And in regime 3, the dominant mode of cultural capital enables surfing across many genres, text and media types and discourse formations, which is like what is valued in the ability to connect text and activities, and therefore institutions in standard ways like intertextual strategies, while what is innovative and therefore highly controlled is the production and circulation of the new kinds of connection strategy. In the regime of these news travels, more of textual mediations and social integrations. It is not the new connections themselves that represent fundamental change. fundamental change in the system at higher levels of organizations, but only new strategies for making meaningful connections. It remains to be seen what forms this social control and resistance to it will take in the future, but it must certainly be on the agenda of critical discourse analysis to be prepared to expose the relationship of social power, interest and advantage, and textual mediation of social control in this newly emerging regime. Uh, I think that's all from our group. I hope you guys enjoy it. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.